First order of business would be citizen comments. You know, the best part is you don't have to say anything if you don't want to.
It's when we want to.
That's why we're here. Minutes. We have two sets to consider. One, the February 20th special board meeting. The second being March 10th, which was just last month.
I move to approve the February 20 special board meeting minutes as written.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent. We did have a meeting on March 10th. If you've had a chance to review the minutes, do I have a second?
Or do you have a motion?
I'll take a motion.
I can't second because I wasn't here, so I just asked that we maybe postpone until next month.
Put them on next month.
All right, we'll approve them next month. We move to discuss approval of bills. We're moving into spring, so things are ramping up, aren't they, Brad?
What's that?
We're moving into spring.
Yeah. Starting to spend some money.
We are.
ADP is obviously payroll, but it's times two. As we move down, Amy Dale is a reimbursement for garden to table supplies. Joanna Fraga is a refund for spring camp. Green Edens is the first payment for garden to table. There'll be another one in July. As you move down, Illinois iParks is our annual insurance, $24,505. Lane Tizer is a refund for Arts Times Travelers. They moved, I believe. As you move further down, State Graphics is one you don't usually see. That's time cards we had printed. Total Paving and Brick Services, they're going to do the driveway, patch the driveway in mid-May.
And that's the first half of the payment?
No, it's the first half. She's going to have two checks in here.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the total payment, but it's going to be in two checks, $24.50, $24.50.
Thank you.
And we'll send the first half tomorrow, and then the second half, when they complete the job, we'll hand it to them. United States Post Office stamps for the machine, and Marilyn Wilson, another refund, and I believe that was for a class.
I move to accept the corporate monthly bill summary April 14, 2016 for $651.67.
Second.
All in favor?
I'd like to have a discussion, just quick, if we can, before we vote.
Okay.
Brian, I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear everything. It looks great, but could you tell me the Home Depot, what is that?
Sure. We bought the timbers for the garden plot. We bought paint, fertilizer, compost, plumbing parts, bags, stencils, and salt.
Okay, cool.
Salt and the timbers were the two biggies.
Sure. And the Lane Tizer, what is that?
That's a person. First, that's the husband and wife last names. That's a refund for Arts and Times Travelers.
Oh, refund. Okay.
Yeah.
I gotcha. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Excellent. We move on to petty cash.
Petty cash, you're missing a cover page. Not my fault.
Draft.
Um,
And here was back cash.
Last month it was the other way. We had the cover page but no detail page.
As we go down, Sam's Club was candy for the egg hunt and membership renewal for the Park District. Rob Beatty was a reimbursement for the February meeting where he bought the plaque and the flowers. Joe Frankel was our entertainment at the spring egg hunt. Sam's Club the second time was snacks for spring camp. Personnel Concepts is a labor law poster we have to post in the office. United States Post Office is real stamps. In case the machine runs out, we have stamps we actually put on. Illinois State Police is a background check, and Evanston Organics was for compost.
Brian, before we have a motion, can can I just ask, which number is the actual amount? Is it 758.22?
It's 708.37. Oh, I'm sorry. It's 758.22.
Thank you. I move that we accept the monthly petty cash for April 13, 2016 for 758.22.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye?
Aye. Gentlemen, thank you. May I borrow your pen?
I'll get you a pen. I got it.
Thank you, sir.
We have reports?
We'll move on to monthly reports. Brian?
All right, I'll go first. Obviously, you know we had our spring egg hunt on March 19th. The weather was a little chilly, but all went well. I estimate about 125 people attended. We had musical entertainment by Joe Franco, and the Spring Bunny made an appearance, which the kids loved. We had a workers' comp audit, as you know, on February 5th, and because of the results of that audit, we received an $800 refund from our premium paid in 2015, so that's good news.
Nice.
In the April bills, you'll see the total paving, $4,900. It's going to be divided into two checks that he's signing right now. First half we'll mail tomorrow, so they come. The second half we pay at completion of the job, their requirements. April 7th, we hosted a 9th Ward meeting in the David Wood Fieldhouse in Cayman East Park. Alderman Miller, several city staff offered great information. I thought it was pretty interesting overall. Answered questions regarding issues, mostly rodent, in the 9th Ward. Approximately 55 people showed up. I met with Sarah Flack, CDBG Administrator, and her office this past month regarding Brummel Park. There will be pre-application meetings in July with the grant due in August. Funding recommendations will be made in September by the CDBG Committee, of which Brian Miller, Ann Rainey, and Mike Muro sit on, among others. Money will not be available if your request is approved until federal government releases it to the city of Evanston, and that will be approximately June or July of 2017. In my meeting with Sarah in her office, she said, think big. Don't come back next year and say, now we need benches or this. Incorporate all of it into one big proposal. So that's what we'll do.
That's really interesting. So essentially we're looking at July of August or August of 2017, which moves us into the 2017-2018 fiscal year.
Right, so it'll be in this fiscal year.
We begin, and considering that there may be a shortfall in CDBG, we have some friends on CDBG, so there might not be. But if there is, we would want to make allowances for it in the 2017-2018 budget.
We will put it in this budget, and if we don't get the money before, you flip it over to the next year. It's just an accounting.
So we put it in 2016-2017.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And obviously, let's say I put in $85,000. You don't spend a dime. There's no income. There's no expense.
Right.
It's a wash.
Okay.
And that's it.
Thank you, Brian.
Thanks, Brian. A lot going on. Carrie?
Yeah, started classes, spring classes are off to a good start. We've had a little bit of an increase in participation from the winter session. Usually the spring is a slow time for classes, but this has been okay. I'm starting to think about potentially using the summer class term to gain momentum for the fall classes. At the table, started the spring term classes in March. The classes are going well. We're starting to have 19 participants and have a few more join as the weather warms up. Spring break camp.
Well, we had 20 campers on some days of camp, an overall increase of about 25% from last year. Dee Witter did a wonderful job as our director, and Jack Bedard helped out as a counselor. I also arranged for our STEAM instructor to bring in lessons on comic book drawing and creating sculptures and blended academia and add those activities. Summer camp, I've been continuing along in the hiring process for summer staff. We have a director for our Arts and Time Travelers Camp, Jamie Ola, and we're enthusiastic about the experience she brings as an arts educator. I'm about to finalize far we've received from Lions Farm. Since I wrote this report, we've also received some cats cookies. Yay.
Cat.
Cookies.
Cookies.
Yep. Mhm. Also, farmers market pre-order delivery forms are on the website. There have been some changes in our delivery range for this year, now reaching up to Dempster Street due to the high cost of delivery for deliveries outside of this boundary. And delivery is free before May 1st, so we're hoping for positive response in this year.
When's the first farmer's market?
The first farmers market is June 1st.
June 1.
Mhm.
Thanks.
Yeah. So that's exciting. Garden plots at Elks Park are being finalized. We've been going down our wait list to offer available plots for the season in accordance with the plan of splitting the plots in half. I've been in contact with Edible Evanston about continuing the excess food sharing program with the coolers at Elks Park again this year. And we hope to provide our gardeners with resources to help the program become a success.
Thank you. The garden plots in Elks Park, just remind me, is this the season then we split them?
Yes,
Okay, so now we basically doubled them, is that right?
yes.
Good.
They're split down the middle, so each side is being.
They're split now.
Yeah,
Mhm.
good.
Yep,
There were folks out this afternoon,
good,
already working.
yeah.
Yeah, it was a good afternoon for that. Congratulations on Jamie Ola. I'm glad to hear you have somebody plugged in for that. It's
Yeah, she's great. So,
Yeah.
I'm excited.
nice to have your position set.
Thanks.
Speaking of finance, the timing's apropos. Jerry, would you enlighten us?
The bright yellow one is the monthly report of outstanding transactions.
There's a lot of yellow.
A lot of yellow. I've highlighted the yellow because we're coming to that time of year where the urgency to fix these problems is getting greater. We've only got 2 more board meetings for you to approve the corrections when they're figured out. Everything that's yellow is stale. It's been on the list for at least 2 months and should be getting cleared up. So I've sent a copy to Anna, Christina as well, and to Brian, and asked that they give some priority to get resolved. When we see something on here that says it's approved, not cleared, it means it's come before you, you have approved it, and whoever we paid the money to for whatever reason
Hasn't cleared.
hasn't done their side. They can cash their check or it hasn't come through and hit our bank accounts. I'm a little less concerned about those, but as those build up over time, we could be in a position where we have to send that money to the state of Illinois as abandoned property. So it does come a point where it becomes a problem. The bigger concern are the charged not approves, because this means we paid the money out of our bank accounts, but you have not approved that expenditure, and it goes against what our ordinance calls for. Generally tends to be electronic transactions that happen kind of automatically. And you'll see a lot of them are TSYS, which have to do with credit card processing. But there are some others, and they just need a lot of focus and attention on the staff's part to figure out where things are falling apart in the process and get the right.
Jerry, it strikes me that charge not approved, that sounds like something we could address on our side, yes?
It's been charged to our bank accounts.
Okay.
But we haven't been able to make the accounting entries on our side because it hasn't made it onto the bills reports for you to pay, for you to approve.
Why? I mean, some of these are 14, 15. Why
I don't know.
haven't they been on the bills?
So the paperwork is not getting to Anna, or Anna's making mistakes when it gets to her. Until they research and figure out what happened with each one, I can't answer what the problem is. All I can tell you is there's a problem.
But most likely this is fixable. It's probably a business management kind of.
They all are fixable.
Okay.
They just have to be, time has to be spent researching why didn't things go
Okay.
the way they're supposed to go, and then what needs to be done to get them fixed.
And Brian, you're aware of this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And what are you doing to help get it fixed? What have you done to?
Every Friday after the board meeting, I say we attack it next week, and I I say we, it just keeps getting pushed aside.
This is Anna Christina's job, though.
Right,
correct?
right, but there's some of the stuff will come off Carrie's computer, like TSYS is old, that goes
I
back.
mean, yeah, I've given her that a year ago.
Yeah, yeah, and it's like charges you, they don't send you a bill, they just charge you. And so then you have to be on it or see the charge, it might slip by. Bank card, I don't know what that is. Adobe is a credit, I know what that is, we have that paperwork. So it's a matter of spending like Tuesday and Wednesday next week and clearing it up.
Are you confident that next month we could clear most of this up?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is that good for you?
Yeah. I mean, we need to, in May and June, get these cleaned up, because if these continue to linger by the time we close the books for the year, it then becomes an audit exception, and we really don't want,
right.
we don't want them to linger long enough for the auditors to comment about.
Other than that,
Yeah, the appropriations ledger, it looks like we're doing pretty good there. If we were to kind of spend our money evenly throughout the year, given where we're at in the year, we should be sitting at about 70 to 75% of our budget. And bottom line, we're sitting at 66%, so it looks like we're doing really, really good. But a couple ways to look at that. Last year at this same time, we were more like at 62%. So we're actually spending ahead of where we were at the same time last year, and felt last year was a pretty tight year. In terms of absolute dollars, we have spent about $11,000 more at this time than we did last year. So it's looking pretty good, but we're coming into that tricky time of the year. We know we've held off doing some big projects to see how we're looking budget-wise. We're looking good, so we're going to go forward with some big ticket items. The wild card is the timing of the summer camps and how that hits the payroll, and the timing of that brings in some big year-end expenses to us. But cautiously feeling pretty good about the budget right now. And then the third report is the balance sheet general ledger. I don't really have much questions about anything.
We have money in the bank?
We got money in the bank. We got lots of money in the bank right now. We probably got, frankly, we're probably carrying too much money in our corporate account. It's an issue of FDIC insurance. I think we're beyond our limits for what we're supposed to be carrying in that account and still having the coverage. It's because we received the spring tax bills and we haven't been spending money out. That's going to dwindle down a bit. But we're probably getting to the point where we've got to look at possibly opening up another bank account somewhere and moving some money to get the FDIC coverage that we need. I haven't had a chance to really delve into it other than to recognize it's starting to get a little tricky.
should we buy another CD or,
Well, I don't...
and get nothing?
We got too much money. I mean, we're at our limit at that financial institution. We have to do it at another institution. Speaking of, I did put a call into First Bank today because 2 of our CDs are renewing, and we need to call in and affirmatively beg for their promotional good rate, otherwise it reverts to a lesser rate automatically.
Their good rate's not so good.
It's okay, but it's 0.5% as opposed to 0.1% if we don't make the phone call. And I got your number on the safe deposit box, we'll talk about that later.
What's the backside here? This is,
The backside just is a way of seeing the breakdown by account of the current month's expenditures. So the expended this month column on the front page is further divided there.
is that new?
No, I can do it that way. In an older format where it ran horizontally,
Okay.
all of those columns would individually be there on the front page.
Okay.
Goes to Bill.
And I just figured it didn't really add a lot. They're more meaningful to me than they are to you. I mean, it's kind of interesting to look. In the last month, we spent about $37,000, and we go down to the total appropriations, and you just approved roughly $46,000 tonight. So yeah, we're spending more, but not a huge amount more.
Oh, we had the insurance bill this month.
And again, when you consider that, you know, it just, the budget's looking okay, don't go wild.
Good advice.
I don't have a report from Anna Christina Nelson. That being said, I suggest we move along to old business.
I'm just passing out some correspondence between the park districts that Brian suggested I contact for taking a look at what other park districts. That one. Sorry, no, sorry. I just picked up copies for everybody. I do recommend that we talk about that when our whole, group is together. But basically, what this is saying is, from the response from the park districts about the insurance coverages policies, for their employees, all of them have the same policy, whether it's written or it's what they actually do. That is, it's equitable. Every employee is offered the same benefit, but there are different prices for each district depending on the company that they use. So,
That makes sense.
but again, I'm very open to tabling this discussion, until our full committee can get together. Just to remind our committee that what I'm asking is there a way for us as a district to follow suit with what the other districts are doing, and that is be equitable in how we offer insurance to our employees?
I get the sense you are pursuing this point on principle
Yes.
and have provided us some context
Yeah.
for recognizing how others have addressed this issue.
That's right. And then the rest, if we end up agreeing as a board that equitable is a goal, then there's of course a cost to that, so let's think about that and plan ahead.
Okay.
Personally, I would advocate that we offer the same, benefit to all the employees, even our part-time employees if we can, those maybe who work 30 hours or more a week. But that's a policy decision for our board to make. But nonetheless, there's no question that there's a cost associated with it. So there would have to be research and agreement on how we go forward with that idea.
It would. You made a mention of a committee. I don't recall.
I'm sorry, our board is what I meant.
Okay. It would help to have some time to review this material so that we can speak more knowledgeably to it. That's how I feel. You've been very good about collecting, you and Brian have both provided us some excellent information on this point in the past. I appreciate the principle you'd like to address, one of equity among all employees. We have our homework cut for us. How would you like, given that we're missing part of the board, can you forward this to the other two board members?
I definitely can if they don't mind getting a digital copy.
I can get him a paper copy
Can
tomorrow.
you? Okay. Maybe we'll do both. I'll do a digital and you could do a hard copy.
Okay.
But I'm very open to us tabling this until, we're all together. I don't see a crisis per se that there needs to be a decision necessarily soon, but at some point I hope our board can re-examine our policy on benefits and whether or not we want to be equitable or not.
I'll make a motion to table.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All right, would we like to discuss it? Dan, it seems to me you're working on principle, and I deeply appreciate working on principle. I try to do so myself. Gets me in all sorts of funny scrapes. We do need the entire board to provide some feedback on this. That being said, I'm a bit torn as to whether we postpone or table. If only because to table it is in some ways to drop it down into a hole, whereas in postponing it would be simply
Postpone is what I meant.
would take it to the next month or several months hence. Is next month sufficient time for our other board members to review this information and provide you feedback?
Sure, but I wouldn't anticipate our board making a decision anytime soon, but I'd like it to be on our agenda to keep talking about and learn about and see what kind of consensus we could come up with.
Okay. Given that, it strikes me that postponing this till either next month or the month after sounds apropos, given the intention driving it and the time needed to review it.
Excuse me, so do you want to call the motion tabling it or postponing it?
Postpone is the word I meant, sorry.
Well,
Will you
I think
read
it's
the
the
motion?
same, I think it's the same thing.
Okay,
So
Okay.
You want to change the word to this?
okay.
Yeah, thank you. We have a motion to postpone until next month. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for your homework.
The next item is simply just a quick review of the facilities tour that Michael and I, and Ruben, of course, but also Nevin Belzer from Riva Management. He's kind of a walk encyclopedia person when it comes to facilities. He's the kind of guy that he's been doing this his whole life, so he knows. He's the kind of guy that can walk through a building and give you an idea of generally what he thinks it looks like, what might be needed. And he's talking basically from shingles to the foundation.
Yeah, I was there for the tour. It was a lovely afternoon.
Yeah.
He had some real experience in working with buildings. You could tell that.
In short, the takeaway for me was, Brian, he was very impressed with what we have in our facilities.
And the conditions.
Structurally sound. Even Patrick, the art studio, I told him a little bit of what we're brainstorming about, and, he said it's just structurally sound. No question about it. He all of our buildings, he thinks, is very doable. He was impressed by our workers, our management folks that are keeping up the facilities. You can see through here, there's a few notes, and Brian, you and Ruben can look through this, and decide. But there might be some things you could look at. For instance, just shingles on some of the buildings look like they could use a new layer or, some attention. Then there was also a couple just code things you could look at. One was just there's one sewer clean out in the basement that's open.
Oh, it has no,
Yeah, and that's the reason why that's a code is you just don't want back sewage coming into the building.
and sewer gas.
Yeah, and it stinks a little bit.
Yep.
So it's kind of a simple solution.
Yep.
You could probably use PVC to fix it, but it should be sealed some way. And then there was one, and it may be fixed already, but one of our basement windows was open and without a latch. So that's just a kind of a security thing.
Over here.
Yes, exactly. And then also in the basement, in this building, it's against code to put wood as your ceiling barrier. You really want drywall. And the reason is, depending on how thick your drywall is, it's a fire barrier. And it's rated by thickness. So like a 3/4 inch drywall would be an hour firewall. It gives a fire department an hour to put the fire out before it comes upstairs.
So to repair plaster falling off, you wouldn't cover it with thin
You
plywood.
shouldn't, because that's not a fire
Right.
retardant.
Right.
But it's a good idea, I get it. And his suggestion was just take that plywood down and put, maybe 1/2 inch drywall, and then you've got a nice firewall, and
Right.
it's not expensive, but those are the kind of things he saw. But the rest of it, you can see, structurally sound and A+ from, I think, one of the best experts in the city when it comes to our old buildings. He's a
Well, I don't
walking
know.
encyclopedia.
Dan, I have to take issue. The conference room fake fireplace.
Oh,
That's a fixture of
All right.
not just of the building, but of the district. I mean, if it wasn't for that and the wood plaque, I don't know if it would be half the Ridgeville we know.
I know. And one thing he mentioned too, Patrick, remember our conversation about the bathrooms over at Cayman whether or not we would want to think about access for the outside. His suggestion right off the bat, he said, don't do that. He said, this, you know, you don't want people coming in your building. But he thought, just looking at it without any investigation, it might be worth of us looking at the idea of what he called 2 new sheds on the outside of those current bathrooms. So it'd be a new structure, but just tie into the current plumbing that we have. He said that would be relatively cheap, and it would give you what you want, but you would have security that way so people don't get in your building. So that was an idea.
Okay.
Thanks for sharing that, Dan.
Yep.
Excuse me, I know I'm not supposed to ask questions, but is he a contractor?
What he is.
Dan, if you'll excuse me, we'd be happy to answer that after the meeting, as is our law. He is not a contractor, as far as I know. He's one of your neighbors.
Okay, I just wanted to.
Been working in the industry all these years. Just wanted to give his 2 cents. Sure.
Oh, and it was a free assessment, too. He just volunteered.
I just wanted to know, I didn't hear what this profession.
Like a facilities manager kind of person.
We met in February. That was part of our special report to discuss capital improvements to the district. At that time, we thought to take some old business, which is to discuss capital improvement plans, and break it into essentially 2 subcommittees, or 2 campuses. One for Leiter Park and one for Ridgeville. Myself and Bob Beatty were looking after Leiter Park, and Kvode and Patrick McCourt were looking after Ridgeville. We had conducted some initial investigations. Dan had suggested we give an overall review of the building with an eye towards contractors for an assessment. So we thought to bring in an informal assessment in the meantime. Always appreciate feedback. It's nice to hear from neighbors. At this point, I can say, at least from Leiter Park, that Rob and I have some questions that we sort of need to work out in terms of bringing new services to the district. And by that, I mean services for sort of a teen set for the 12 to 18-year-old crowd, as well as services for 34 to 55-year-old crowd. And all of that considering, of course, accessibility, public safety, and sustainability. At Note, one of Rob's aspirations was to provide a space for skaters in Evanston. One of mine to build out our current gardening capacity. The city itself had considered a skating park. Haven't heard much back from them. Could be budget, could be otherwise. Lincolnwood provides a fine example of a small, modest space that could work nicely for Evanston. And so the question there is how to consider such a space given the current layout and other possible capacities that Leiter Park could afford. We have West Cayman, we have East Cayman, so we have a lot of green space for soccer, for softball and the like, but how to manage Leiter so that it's accessible, so that it's safe, and improvements are sustainable environmentally and of course fiscally remain important. Now, in terms of the Ridgeville campus, we had talked about, we had started the discussion really at the art studio. It didn't stay there, but it sure started there.
Well, as far as I know, it's stayed there, but,
Okay.
you know, we,
The garage here.
yeah, the art studio. And Kvode has a friend, Susan, who helped us with the kitchen. And she came over on March 16th and did a, maybe put this in their packet so they have it. She came over March 16th just to assess it and take a look at it. This is not, you know, it's just an idea and, you know, nothing beyond that, but it gives us something to do. So she's not, she said in the cover note that she's really not qualified to take it to the next step, basically. But I'm gonna let Ann talk about that next month. because, you know, there's a friendship. But you wanted to just give us some ideas. In fact, you know, there's a couple interesting concepts in terms of eliminating some of that parking area there in front of the building to give that building more accessibility, basically, with, you know, without having cars or trucks in front of it.
Replace the tables.
Yeah. No cost estimates. She's not really qualified to do that. So she just wanted to kind of look at it from the perspective of, could we expand the art studio? Could we, you know, use it for the Shakespeare in the Park, or performances, or dance classes, or that? And I think that was kind of the idea. I think, Brian, you've already started to clean up the second floor.
Yeah.
That has basically just been used for storage, as you know, during our walkthrough, you know, several months ago. So that's in process of at least getting cleaned up. And I think her plan was to just use that for storage area. So she didn't do anything with the second floor.
So the second page then is referring to her suggestions for the first floor?
Yes, yeah. And the second floor would just be clean it up, open it up, put some shelves in there, use it for scenery, costumes, whatever else, you know, relative to art studio, camp, that kind of stuff. So really just for storage. And the downstairs, I don't know, I don't have dimensions here, so I don't really know. Is this dance studio the same size as it is today?
Yeah, there's a scenery prep storage area too. That's
Or is it really cut in half? I'm not quite sure about that. I don't think you'd want to make that any smaller than it is.
Yeah, to be functional, it'll probably have to be bigger
It wants to be bigger.
than it is today.
sounds like a good discussion. Anne may have some more details on it.
She might, but she had just gotten this,
Okay.
and she asked if I would just pick it up, which I did, and pass it out so people could look at it for the next month or so. And if you have any other ideas, you know, we can talk about it next month.
Thanks for sharing.
But, you know, you notice that she's got a handicap accessible bathroom, a storeroom. That room is used for the salt and the stage right now. So
Is that the shed, basically?
the shed, yeah.
Okay,
The shed really, I mean, I think long-term we could get the salt out of there
yeah.
and just use it for the store, for the stage without having to move it over to the garage, but, so I think it was nice that she did it, and, you know, she did it, brought us, and,
The cool part is she also managed to balance both the need for storage with the concept of public amenities. And she considered pretty closely how we currently, you know, make use of that studio space. And the fact that you need to put stuff somewhere.
yeah, absolutely, and, you know, the folks for the Shakespeare and whatever else is gonna be there, they need a place to change, they need, you know, stuff to have their outfits and, you know, costumes and all that, so
Nice.
think about it a little bit and take it to the next step next month when everybody's had a chance to look at it, and Rob and I have a chance to look at it again too.
Okay. Cool. Gentlemen, do we have any new business? I've been move along to citizen comments.
Sounds good to me.
Ladies?
I do want to say something. I just, sitting here, have some concerns about budget stuff. I'm just feeling like the budget is fragile, because it always is. I know, it always has been money-wise. And I get concerned when we start talking about putting in stuff and, you know, discussions that have lasted over months and months. And basically it's about, I still don't quite understand all this stuff about, you know, insurance and stuff, and why you keep bringing it up and bringing it up. And I mean, I just don't know why you're looking for more ways for the residents to spend money. But, I mean, that's just my feeling. And it's the same thing, I just have concerns about bringing in people that are great, a neighbor, I mean, I could have gone around too, and making suggestions of doing things that are possibly gonna cost money, as if you were a real, you know, do this, do that. I would hope that if it's stuff that you think need to be done for permit or real safety issues, it's gonna cost real money. I would hope that we, like on buildings and stuff, I would hope that we, if it's gonna cost significant money, I hope we get other opinions about it, is all I'm saying. I'm getting a little concerned about how money is, you know, how the residents' money is being talked about. And that's it. I just wanted to bring that up.
Sure.
Okay?
Great, thank you.
Any other comments? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Broke a record.
Wow, 8:30.